Right then, so the first two heat races have now been concluded, and some incredible racing we've seen right down the order. The racing is not confined to the front despite the huge international standard we have. The racing has been very, very tough all the way down. We've got the third heat race of this first round. Every driver in this championship races 4 times. We have 4 rounds of heats. There are 10 heats in each of the rounds, and there are 10 drivers in each one, so 100 drivers are in competition this weekend. We're coming to the third heat now, and well, it's going to be a very tough one. We've seen tough ones all the way, but looking at this one, we've got Lewis Manley, who every year is one of the absolute British hopes for the overall title of British champion, which has, of course, gone the way of Ruben Bouton's a Dutchman every year. But of the British hopes, Lewis Manley is always one of the fancied runners. Christophe Verhoeven there, he is a Belgian, and he is over for this event. We've seen him before. He's perfectly capable of taking the fight to Lewis Manley. Mario Blanco Gonzales, he's next up as well. Matt Bartsch, the Polish driver, he's one of the top international drivers, and we can expect fireworks from him. Benneyworth turns up every year, puts on a sterling performance every year. He's obviously well known in British karting, generally for outdoor racing. You know, he races in the Brkc, the long distance races, and also Club 100, which is potentially Britain's top rental kart championship. That's a multi-venue one outdoors. So Benneyworth there. Dan Healey, what can we say about Dan Healey? Been on the scene a long time now, a former champion of that Club 100, the outdoor series there, and he really takes some reckoning with. He's a killer around Castle Combe as well, multiple champion there. Michael Weddell, the Scotsman, coming down from Edinburgh, been racing in the mini championship last year. In fact, he was so good that he actually won the title, and has been testing with the TCR series, that touring car series, with an Audi. He, of course, here is just really looking at opening his year, but when you're talking about Michael Weddell opening a year, you could be opening it with a win. Tim Andrew has been here for the last few events. He's one of the top drivers in the Masters Series, racing for the Cam Ho Trophy. That's for people who are over 40. Jake Campbell-Mills, Jake Campbell-Mills is has been a champion at Super 1 level, and he has raced in the World Championships. He's always a top runner here in the UK at the British Championship. And Fergal Ludlow, who we believe is making his debut in the Brkc this year. He's a relatively unknown driver from a British Championship point of view. However, he has been a champion at the other side of Milton Keynes. We're racing here at Formula Fast in Milton Keynes. For Fergal Ludlow, he is actually a competitor over from the other side of town, shall we say. So they're heading out to begin their qualifying now, and well, Lewis Manley will be looking from his point of view to take his first pole position and translating that to his first win of the championship in 2019. We'll see what he has to offer as they start the warm-up lap. They're getting a feel for what they've got. We're looking there, that looks like further down the field, I was going to say, there's all the drivers just really working their way around now to get a feel for the kart and start the qualifying laps. The qualifying laps have started. Fergal Ludlow's first one up, but Benneyworth set so far, shall we say, the fastest outlap. Verhoeven's gone quicker, Lewis Manley's gone quicker. That's the outlap. It's not really anything to be gained by that. It just gives an idea where people are. We're in the Snell section there on screen. This is the very tight corner. We see a lot of action in this area here. And there's a sort of wider view of the Snell section there. Very difficult section to be fast, and a very difficult section to attack and defend on, but it's where people try. So the checkers coming out to conclude the qualifying laps. We're seeing the times that they come in. Matt Bartsch leads the way on that sort of outlap. Fergal Ludlow, Michael Weddell is now fastest, currently quickest. Verhoeven second, but they've been taken by Manley. Manley's quickest, but Matt Bartsch, provisional pole position. Is he going to keep it there? There's still a couple to come through. Gonzales goes fourth. Tim Andrew comes through in seventh. There's still Matt Bartsch. Dan Healey up to third in the qualifying. It's Jake Campbell-Mills to cross the line, and Campbell-Mills in a surprising seventh place, as we said. So Matt Bartsch takes pole position for this, his opening heat race of the year, and he, well, That's exactly what he was looking for. A very quick time. George Lovell holds the event record at the moment with a 32.3, but it is, in fact, Matt Bartsch is qualified at 32.5, so getting faster all the time. And just 1/10 off him is Lewis Manley. Now, Lewis Manley won't be particularly pleased with that. I think he was thinking pole position all the way, but, well, he's now got the chance to try and take that lead away from Bartsch. They don't score points for the qualifying, but they do score them for the race win, and that's what Lewis Manley will now have his eyes on. Dan Healey, though, a great result there by Dan Healey to come in third place. Michael Weddell, who's been making a very successful switch to cars and is looking really to push on and make a name for himself in that TCR series, the Touring Car Championship. He is now in fourth place ahead of Gonzales. So they're lining up now. There's Lewis Manley, we can see on the screen. That's Dan Healey behind him in third place there. We can see looking around. So in the first place, just behind the marshal, just to the side of him, that's Matt Bartsch, Polish driver, an epic performer in any race, very much one of the top drivers on the international scene, versus very much the local driver, Lewis Manley, and he's from Milton Keynes. He has been a multiple champion at this venue at the track championship here, and we've seen him start every time the BRKC. 3 potential winners right there, and Michael Weddell can never be discounted either. So Matt Bartsch brings them round. So Matt Bartsch dictates the pace. He's bringing them around very slow. This is the slowest start we've seen. He's going to pull the pin. He's hit the throttle. There goes Bartsch. There goes Manley with him. A slight gap there to Dan Healey. Bartsch was trying to make a slow start and sort of pull a bit of a jump on him. He knows that Manley's going to be after him right off the bat. Lewis Manley is one of those people, he's not going to think too much about this. There won't be a lot of strategy from Lewis Manley except to get to the front, and he's going to try and get there as soon as he can. Really, with someone like Matt Bartsch, Manley cannot afford to let him get away. Manley, even if he was thinking all kind of weird strategies, which he won't be, when it comes to Matt Bartsch, he will have to get on him right away. Matt Bartsch has not pulled anything like any kind of lead that can't be taken, though, because Lewis Manley is still there with him, just a cart length behind into the snail section. There's Bartsch, the leader, there's Manley, and there is Dan Healey. A little bit of a bigger gap there to Michael Weddell, who's got Gonzales onto him. There's Matt Bartsch leaning out, very much the European style there. Lewis Manley a lot more upright. So there's Bartsch. You can see that European lean, trying to lift up that inside rear wheel. Solid rear axle on the cart, and Matt Bartsch is trying to help the cart rotate through the corner by leaning out. That's what that is all about. It seems strange to people who don't know how it works, but makes perfect sense once you understand the physics. Talking of physics, though, Lewis Manley is physically closer to Matt Bartsch as they enter the snail section. This is arguably the closest he's been, even though we're only 3 on the third lap. Lewis Manley is starting to close in on Bartsch a little bit, and he certainly means business. They're coming out of the snail section there now. Lewis Manley all over the back of Matt Bartsch, and Matt Bartsch is going to have to get towards the middle of the track there. He's looking over his shoulder. He can see Lewis Manley comes. Lewis Manley, though, was looking to just really stay behind Bartsch, and I think Bartsch knew that. It's a little bit of a distance to be making a lunge there. Anything he did would be a little bit too early, too soon, because if he made a mistake, he would be leapt upon by those behind. So Matt Bartsch into the snail section, followed by Manley. Definitely Dan Healey staying with him. This is a great show by Dan Healey. We know that he's a good driver, but to stay with these 3 is what he needs to do now. I think Dan Healey could show well in this race. There's Bartsch, there's Manley. A little bit of a gap, just as I've said it, to Dan Healey. He seems to close up in the tighter bits, though, as Matt Bartsch leads the way with Lewis Manley right on his tail. There's Matt Bartsch from Poland. There's Lewis Manley from Milton Keynes. So one coming a long distance, one who practically, stayed in his own bed last night, and anyone who can stay in their own bed must be pretty local. So there is Matt Bartsch coming off the snail section around this long turn that leads to the backstretch. Arguably the best chance for Lewis Manley to take any early shots at the lead, and Matt Bartsch is quite comfortable there. You can see as soon as someone isn't comfortable, they move towards the centre of the road. That wasn't happening there with Bartsch. There's Bartsch, still in the lead. He's very much in command, and he knows it. Lewis Manley is, well, I'm not sure he's actually biding his time. Matt Bartsch is very fast. Lewis Manley is very fast. They're setting decent lap times. They're already sort of closing in on what could be seen to be the fastest lap there's been. 32.3 by George Lovell, and they're already showing a 32.4 for Matt Bartsch. This race has been run very fast. Matt Bartsch with a slight edge on speed, but Lewis Manley not being left for dead at all. They are actually starting to pull away from Dan Healey, who in turn seems to be pulling away from Michael Weddell. Now, Healey, of course, will be watching these 2 pull away. He'll be doing everything he can to try and stay with them, which, of course, is what's pulling him away from Weddell. So there's Healey, and there's Weddell with Gonzales all over the back of him. A very tight fight there for fourth. So Matt Bartsch leading out onto the backstretch. In the lead, in command, Lewis Manley, second place. But you know, anyone who knows Lewis Manley will know that he'll be thinking of nothing but first. He knows it's Matt Bartsch ahead. He does have respect for the pole. He's had to race him a few times over the years, always here in the British Championship. He knows Matt Bartsch's potential, Matt Bartsch's skill. But Lewis Manley, of course, he knows his skill and his potential too, and first will be what he's after. So out to the Snell section, Matt Bartsch leaning out. There's Lewis Manley, there's Dan Healey. Bartsch still with the lead. Bartsch with the kind of lead that means he doesn't have to defend. He's also very, very self-confident. Very confident young man from Poland. Really getting cart turned in tightly there. Keeping that lead. Lewis Manley running with him. Lewis Manley possibly thinking about not doing anything now for a little while. Just allow them to build up a bit of a lead over third place. Make it so it's sort of safe to make an error, if you like. If they're making errors when there's someone right on your tail, you're going to get leapfrogged, as we saw in that earlier race with Sam Spinell. But here comes Matt Bartsch. There's Lewis Manley, both looking very confident out in the lead there. Dan Healey running third. Quite a big gap now to third place. Lewis Manley very close to Matt Bartsch, but not really trying anything so far. Lewis Manley seems to be content in second place, which is a little bit surprising. Manley normally straight into the action. But Matt Bartsch, very confident, very assured. There's Dan Healey in third. This is a very good run by Dan Healey. We know he can do it. He's always been high potential. You know, he's got championships and results under his belt already, and looking good in this race here. He's looking for points, clearly, keep his championship running. The idea really being that if you're going to be making the final, you're going to have to be looking at top 3 positions in all of your heats to make enough points to make the final. There is a semi-final between the round of heats to get yourself through that and then into the final itself. But if you're going to make it, you've got to be scoring high, and Dan Healey at the moment is keeping himself in that position. So, Matt Bartsch from Poland. What can we say about Matt Bartsch? He's a former indoor kart champion of his native Poland. He's always been in the top 10 here overall, that is, so he's always made the final, always been well inside the top 10 there. 5th place, I think, has been his best result ever in the whole championship. He, of course, is a regular in the World Championships every year, and a front runner at any track you might find him at. Lewis Manley tends to specialise here at Formula Fast. He's not noted for really travelling afar. Doesn't do any other championships. He's been a circuit specialist here, and how that has really helped him for the British Championships, which of course have been taking place here ever since 2014. And Lewis Manley there has been in the, one of the people to be reckoned with. He's been a race winner here at Formula Fast with Brkc almost every year. There was only one year when he failed to win a race. Perennial competitor and perennial race winner. Now, Matt Bartsch, we're seeing, is now down to 32.3 on best laps. So is Lewis Manley. Lewis Manley actually holds the best lap so far for this race. It's a real cat and mouse job at the front there. There's Bartsch, there's Manley. They're pulling away from Healey, but Healey himself is not doing badly at all. He is, 32.5. He's only 0.2 of a second off them, and comfortably a similar amount clear from the rest of the field, in terms of lap times we're talking here. In terms of actual distance, of course, it's getting to be the point where the two leaders are out of sight. It's going to come down to these two surely. If we look at the gaps, it's actually almost 3 seconds lead. We're generally allowing 10 or 11 seconds for a pit stop, 11 if you want to keep it safe. So Manley and Bartsch are going to be trying to pull out a lead. Oh, Manley starting to have a little look. Bartsch immediately went to the middle of the road there, halfway down the straight. You could see as soon as he somehow with a 6th realised Manley was trying something. So maybe Manley's just sort of trying to feel Bartsch out a little bit, keep him honest, keep him fast. Lewis Manley, of course, has the quickest lap of the race so far. Both are in the 32.3, almost within 100th of George Lovell's time. We'll see how this shapes up. This is the final corner of that. We've seen a lot of action here over the recent years. It is still in that Snell section there. Coming out of the Snell, we're just waiting to see who we're looking at there. Yeah, that's a little bit further down the order there with who we're looking at. Let's have a look at numbers. The 16 kart there, the tail. That's Gonzales. So it's Weddell versus Gonzales there. And Verhoeven, gosh, we haven't said much about him. He's a bit further down the order. So it's Weddell there. Michael Weddell, the reigning mini champion from Scotland. And he's looking to make a name for himself in touring cars if he can with the TCR series. He currently is running 5th place in this. He's behind Jake Campbell-Mills, but probably his biggest concern at the moment is Gonzales, Mario Blanco Gonzales, who's now breathing down his neck. There they are. There's Weddell and there's Gonzales. They're coming down the backstretch. Weddell getting very defensive there. This central line, I've been told, oh, Gonzales had a little shot in there, but there just simply wasn't the room. Hear the tyre squeal there as Blanco Gonzales got a bit of a lock-up going on into that turn. Everybody goes for it there. It's almost impossible not to take a shot once you've seen the slightest of gaps, but that has given a bit of a gap there to Weddell. You can see Blanco Gonzales trying to close in on him. Weddell there exiting the Snell section now. Mario Blanco Gonzales surely won't be close enough to have a shot at the end of the straight this time, but already not taking any chances. There's Weddell there. You can see he was over to the left to block anything out that may be thrown at him. So Michael Weddell now we're looking at there with Mario Blanco Gonzales. Up at the front though, we've got a new record for the event in Lewis Manley. Lewis Manley now has pulled it down to a 32.2. These times coming down all the time. The track's getting warmer. The drivers are getting faster as a result, and everybody is really just pulling up the pace. It's still Matt Bartsch with the lead, but Lewis Manley in second is the current fastest on the track and current fastest in the event. We're looking at Weddell down the backstretch. And there's Weddell still with Mario Blanco Gonzales, who has closed in on him. And it's closer than ever before. There they come. We're looking at the leaders now. There's Matt Bartsch and there is Lewis Manley. So Matt Bartsch really got close up there. You can see him at work. Very little effort, trying to minimise the effort in the car, to minimise the action, to increase the speed. Lewis Manley, though, staying with him. It's still a bit of a gap. Lewis Manley can't take any kind of shots in from here unless it was something really crazy that would probably result in a collision, of which nothing would be gained. All they would do is lose time to third place, Dan Healey. Dan Healey still in third with Jake Campbell-Mills in fourth. Now Matt Bartsch, he knows he's got enough of a lead there on Manley that he can take the more natural line. That's going to allow a little bit more speed. Anytime they're allowing a little bit more speed, they're pulling away from the rest of the field. Lewis Manley knows that. Tends to close into Matt Bartsch on the tighter sections and loses out a little bit on the faster sections. Matt Bartsch with that Euro lean there. One of the masters of getting the kart to rotate in the corner by leaning out. That's what all this leaning out is about. Lifting that inside rear wheel a bit to make it steer better. Kart, of course, has a solid rear axle. Tendency towards understeer in the turns, especially the tight ones. Okay, so Matt Bartsch, former Polish champion. He's looking this year to try and make himself the British champion. We haven't seen him in action yet, but the reigning British champion and reigning world champion Ruben Boutons will be out later on. Ruben Boutons, very often the benchmark by which everyone will set themselves. He's in the next heat race. At the moment, though, the benchmark is Matt Bartsch, but Lewis Manley has set an even quicker lap, 32.25. Oh, in the pits there, that looks like Jake Campbell-Mills. It was indeed Jake Campbell-Mills who drops down the order a little bit, not by that much though. And Jake Campbell-Mills continues on his way. Of course, that's the benefit of Michael Weddell and Mario Blanco Gonzales, who respectively have moved up into 4th and 5th places. Still first and second though, Matt Bartsch, Lewis Manley. Not a lot of real action, if you like, going on in this race. It's been very much nose to tail and cat and mouse. Not a lot in the way of the overtaking and sheer fighting action we saw in the earlier two heats. But very interesting from this point of view. They are very, very fast, these two, and they are the quickest we've seen anyone this weekend. We're looking at them now. It's Matt Bartsch from Poland leading Lewis Manley, the British hope for this race at least, and one of the top British hopes for the title overall. So Matt Bartsch, another lap over the line. Matt Bartsch, regular on the international scene, as I've said many, many times about him. He knows exactly what to do in this sort of situation. The biggest thing here will be not to overdrive the kart. It will be so easy. Often the biggest complaint that gets made about anyone racing karts generally, especially indoor, is a tendency to overdriving. Matt Bartsch, if anything, is keeping that well in hand. Lewis Manley is also doing the same, and that's why they're running first and second. So you can see Matt Bartsch, a great close-up there from the camera on the helmet of Matt Bartsch there. You can see minimal action at the wheel, no sliding around. Sliding around is just going to cost time. The gentlest of drifts in the turn. As you can see Matt Bartsch there just maintaining that slide there, keeping the wheels as straight as possible so they're more rolling and less pushing sideways through the turn there. Continuing around, we're Well, we've only got about 6 minutes remaining in this race, so we're quite well in. It's going to be a pit stop soon, surely, or maybe towards the end for these leaders. Matt Bartsch and Lewis Manley, actually, as I speak, he comes in the pits. Lewis Manley's had enough following Bartsch. Second place, Manley pits. That's the first stop. They've got 2 stops to make in the pit. There he is, Lewis Manley. It looks good. It looks good. Generally losing about 11 seconds on the pit stop lap. We'll see what happens. Yes, that's exactly what's happened. Well, no, 10 seconds he's lost. So an incredible pit stop there by Lewis Manley. And that is the best pit stop we've seen all weekend. Matt Bartsch looks over his shoulder. He sees Lewis is not there. He knows now he needs to set some lap times to make sure that he can come out in front of Lewis. He doesn't really want to have to fight Lewis for the lead. Now, what will Matt Bartsch do? He'll be looking across the track. He'll know exactly where he is, reference Lewis Manley. Lewis Manley's come out 3rd place. He's got Dan Healey now up to 2nd place. So Matt Bartsch, quite a bit of a gap now. There's Lewis Manley just crossing the line on screen now. And sort of further down the order, there's one of the other races. But here's Matt Bartsch onto the back stretch. He's starting to close in on someone. It looks like it could be Fergal Ludlow. So Matt Bartsch is starting to reel in some of the tail enders. He's not made a pit stop, of course, as Bartsch, so he may well wait till he catches somebody and pit straight away. He doesn't have to go through the time-wasting hassle of actually trying to put them a lap down. So Matt Bartsch through the Snell. He's the race leader, looking for a maximum score in this race. From his point of view, nothing else will do. He wants full points. Cameraman at work there. Great camera crew this weekend. We've got some cracking angles. That camera you can see on the beam there, that's the one that's bringing us those really close-ups through that second to last turn. Okay, so meantime, it looks like Jake Campbell-Mills, and we're back with Matt Bartsch there. And through this section here, we'll see who's coming through. Yeah, Jake Campbell-Mills there, Matt Bartsch. There's Dan Healey. Dan Healey was running in 2nd place there. He's yet to make a stop. So Bartsch, the leader there, onto the back straight. Will we see the back of Healey? There's Benneyworth ahead of Matt Bartsch, and he is actually running 9th. So Matt Bartsch now starts to close in Benneyworth. Benneyworth very fast indeed. I mean, there he is going a lap down. But, you know, he's a regular and the top runner in all the various national year-long championships of Benneyworth. Such is the standard at the British Rental Car Championship. He's about to go a lap down to race leader Matt Bartsch. Now, Matt Bartsch can see Benneyworth ahead of him. Ahead of Benneyworth, of course, is Tim Andrews. So Bartsch is considering he's got 2 back marks coming up. You can see the flashing blue light there, telling Benneyworth he needs to just let the leader through, and he does. Very sportsmanlike there. Hasn't lost a lot of time either, Benneyworth. So Matt Bartsch has got the option, really, again, of staying out. He doesn't have to pit himself out of the problem, if you like, of passing back markers. So Bartsch will be looking to maintain the fastest laps he can. He currently holds the record for the event. He's now the fastest on the track and the fastest so far in the event. No, that's Lewis Manley. Lewis Manley, as I speak, takes that fastest lap back. Lewis Manley is trying desperately to make up ground. Now, Lewis Manley's already been in the pits. What he's trying to do now is to set a series of fast times so that when Bartsch has to pit himself, Lewis Manley might leapfrog him while Bartsch is stationary in the pit lane. Passing someone while they're stopped in the pits is an awful lot easier than passing them on the track, especially when you're talking to the driver of calibre of Matt Bartsch, and that's exactly what Lewis Manley's got in mind. Lewis Manley, currently in 3rd place, having made a pit stop, is the fastest on the track. He's trying to close down Dan Healey to 2nd, but he doesn't need to worry too much about Healey as such. He won't really be thinking about Healey because he has yet to make a pit stop, and Manley will probably leapfrog him when he does that. It's Bartsch who he's thinking about, which is the one we're looking at now. This is the race leader, former Polish champion there, Bartsch, looking to make it the British Championship as well. He's got Tim Andrew who's closing in, the driver who's a lap down there. Tim Andrew is actually running in 8th place in the blue suit, we can see. Now there's Bartsch. Now Andrew will surely be getting the blue flashing light on the backstretch. That's going to warn him that one of the leaders is coming through and he needs to move out of the way. There's the blue light. There's Bartsch chasing him down. Will Bartsch be able to get through on this turn? He needs to lose no time. Andrew's trying to let him through, but really Bartsch wasn't quite close enough. Oh gosh, amazing bit of sportsmanship there by Tim Andrew. He sort of was wanting to let him through at the end of the straight there, but Bartsch wasn't really close enough to take it, and then Andrew moved to the side and Bartsch loses almost no time at all on that lap. So great driving there by Tim Andrew. The thing here is with the British Rental Car Championship, the standard is so high that even guys running at the back are successful drivers in their own right. Tim Andrew, his best result, we've seen him in the championship, bearing in mind there are 100 drivers. His best result has been 73rd, so Tim Andrew, he's in his own personal battle to try and get further up the order. Bartsch continues with the lead. There's a bit of a fight brewing further down the order. It looks like it begins with Michael Weddell and extends all the way down to Verhoeven there. Christophe Verhoeven, yeah, there it is. There's Michael Weddell. And in that mix there's Mario Blanco, Gonzales, Jake Campbell-Mills and Christophe Verhoeven. And they're fighting out for that 4th place. And there they are pulling up ahead there from Tim Andrew. Here's Matt Bartsch. Now, when is Matt Bartsch going to pit? It's not going to be this lap. He's in front of Tim Andrew, who we know is a lap down. So it must be Fergal Ludlow, who perhaps has gone lap down to the Weddell group, shall we say. There's Matt Bartsch coming out the Snell section. He's desperately trying to make some ground. Lewis Manley sets a new record for this event, 32.0. Are we going to see in this race going down into 31 seconds? Lewis Manley, 32.0 is the fastest of the event so far. Close up on Matt Bartsch. Now, has Matt Bartsch got anything in answer to Lewis Manley's record laps? Because Matt Bartsch is under huge pressure here to actually make up time. He has to match Lewis Manley 4 lap times if he's not going to get leapfrogged in the pits. So although he seems to have a clear lead here with no one around him, there is tremendous pressure on Matt Bartsch there, who we're looking at on screen, to be setting times. At the moment, he simply isn't setting them. He's a 10th of a second down on Lewis Manley on that previous lap, and when you or on fastest laps, and when you consider it, that does mean, oh, here he is into the pits. Now, this is it. This is the deciding moment, really. Matt Bartsch makes his stop. This has got to be brilliant. Lewis Manley's stop was the best we've seen so far in the event, and Matt Bartsch has to do something even better. Where is Lewis Manley? Manley's going to take it. Manley has leapfrogged Matt Bartsch in the pits. Manley, and it's for the win as well. Now, that's going to be interesting. Can Matt Bartsch have left a pit stop that late? This could be very interesting to see what the organisers say. But Lewis Manley appears to have snatched it right on the line. So a win there for Lewis Manley on the line itself. Has Matt Bartsch actually left it too late for the pits? We'll see what the organisers have to say about that one, because there are certain rules about when you can pit and when you can't. There's a last chance. There's going to be a penalty for Bartsch. He's just left it too late, and this could be bad news for Matt Bartsch and could be amazing news for Dan Healey and possibly even Michael Weddell. It's going to be very serious for Bartsch if he does drop into the Weddell group, though, because that was 4 cars battling very closely, and Matt Bartsch potentially could come out of this looking like he was going to win and actually ending up near the tail. So Lewis Manley, an incredible win there. He leapfrogged on merit Matt Bartsch in the pits, and well, we've got to see if Matt Bartsch, far from setting something that could win the event, may well have blown the thing in its entirety. We'll see what happens in the final. Yeah, we've got a penalty there for Matt Bartsch. He just left that pit stop too late. There is a rule. You can't come in on the first lap and you can't be coming in on the last lap. They hold a board out to say, last chance to pit. Matt Bartsch, well, I know he's from Poland, but his English is definitely good enough to have read that board. He will have seen it, and clearly maybe didn't respond to it in time. He'll obviously be challenging the decision, but we'll see what the organisers have to say. But there's no doubting an amazing win there by Lewis Manley. Lewis Manley, he was running second, and having seen that he was second behind Bartsch, he had a few sort of gentle looks at it, but this is probably the most refined we've seen Lewis Manley. Definitely someone who's likely to go straight into the attack is one of the top British hopes there, Manley. And this time he played a bit of a waiting game, did it on the pit stops, and then did the fast laps, which is, had to strategise your way to the win, and that was some of the finest strategy we've seen. So it's almost certain that Dan Healey will have been second in that race, and it's possible that current Scottish mini champion Michael Weddell may well have come in third. So we'll see what the organisers have to say overall for Matt Bartsch's final positions there. Okay, so we're going to be moving now to Heat Race 4. And what's special about Heat Race 4? Well, of course, it is the first race this year in the British Championship for the reigning double world champion and 5 times British champion. Currently the sort of reigning champion of Britain. It is, of course, from Holland. It's Ruben Boutens. He's going to be making his first race here in the BRK